Hi, you can take pictures like this with just a regular DSLR, a zoom lens and a tripod. I'm Mark from Team Dominator, and this is part 3 of a 3-part series on how to do this. Previous parts of this tutorial can be found in the description below. This part of the tutorial shows you how to take the image you built in part 2 and post-process it into something fantastic. This type of post-processing is completely subjective and there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Whatever you think looks best, goes. If you need a reference as a starting point for your deep sky object, then just look at a photo on the web and pick one you like. I'm going to be using Photoshop, Astronomy tools for Photoshop, and Topaz Labs DeNoise AI. You don't have to use these tools or follow this process. It's just a guideline. Many other tools can also do the same job. If your favorite imaging tool is something else, then a quick search of the internet with the particular technique being used in this tutorial can net you a way of doing this with what you have rather than having to purchase something. So we have our image from part 2 loaded into Photoshop. The thing we're going to do is make the image a bit more visible on screen by rotating it 90 degrees counterclockwise. And then we're going to fit it to the screen. So here we have M42 Orion, M43 Damarin's Nebula. Then we have the Flame Nebula here and the star Altenac here. So first thing we're going to do is use Astro tools to remove a bit of this colour noise. So to do this we're going to duplicate the background. Let's put in here initial noise removal. Then we're going to hit the action button and we're going to choose space noise reduction and hit play. Now if you look here, so we can turn this layer on and off and you can see it's removed a bit of the initial noise. Just going to do another pass at this. This time I'm going to use deep space noise reduction, just so that we have both types. Okay, you can see now this is considerably better. So now we're going to duplicate this layer. We're going to change this to Topaz noise reduction. And then we're going to run the Topaz DeNoise AI. So we go to Filter, Topaz Labs and Topaz DeNoise AI. So we need to make sure that low light is selected. That just seems to do the best job for astrophotography. And then down here you can have this set to auto. You can see here a little scroll bar going across as it does the preview. Here this is the original. This is the noise reduced version on the right. It's done quite a good job on the nebulas. And what happens if you don't do the deep space noise reduction first, often you'll find noise in the area in between the nebulas, but you'll find the nebulas are quite good. So it's a good idea to try and do that noise reduction first before you do this noise reduction. So down here we can change these settings down here. So I'll often just get the minimum noise reduction I can get away with, so that the image isn't over processed. So I've just pulled these down to 1, I'll wait for that to update. So you can actually scroll down here, you can move this around as well up there. So we're just going to scroll down a bit and see how this looks. Wait for it to update. You can see that's looking quite good. Detail looks quite good on there, noise is gone. And then if we put it to the nebula over there, let's have a look what that looks like, M42 and M43. Give it a second to update. There you go, looking good. So when we're happy with this, we click on apply. Now it returns to Photoshop. Now you see it's still got the noise on there, but if you just use the mouse button here to move around or scroll around on it, you can see it updates the image. There you go. I'm just going to lock this as well so that we don't accidentally update it. This is our noise reduced version. That's the original. So it's looking quite good. So one thing I'm noticing on this image is there's a lot of stars, and the stars are there, but obviously they're detracting from the nebula. So I'm just going to reduce the strength of the stars essentially, and that will also have the side effect of removing some of the stars as well. So we duplicate this layer. We always duplicate layers so we have a history of the operations that have been done on the image. So I'm going to put in here star reduction. And then I'm going to go to actions. We're going to use Astro Tools again. So the one I'm going to use here, because we've got a deep space object, which is the nebula, I'm going to choose Enhance DSO, which is down here, and Reduce Stars. So we click on that and click the play button. So you can see almost immediately there's been an improvement. That's with the star reduction in place. So we're just going to do this again as well. I think it requires some additional star reduction, so I'm going to click on Make Stars Smaller. We click the play button. So it's reduced the stars further, and we're going to do it again as well. And again. And I'm happy with it there. So let's just close this off so we can see a full image. So if we now turn off this layer, you can see what it looks like with and without the star reduction. You can see that's made quite a bit of difference. Down here you can see the Horsehead Nebula is starting to come out. Flame Nebula is looking good. So now we're going to adjust the curves. So if I go to Layer, then New Adjustment Layer, and then I select Curves, I can add a Curves layer here. So here's the Curves layer. So you can change the individual curves, and quite often if you do change the individual curves, it's worth doing things called S-curves. That's typically where you pull the curve down a little bit and then you raise it a little bit like this. These are quite useful because they kind of boost areas in there. And they're non-linear as well. So it's similar in some respects to an Ace in H curve that we were talking about in part 2. So that's one option. Another thing you can do is just click Auto. Often Auto will do a reasonable job, so we're going to click on Auto. And yes, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to leave that as is. One good trick, if you ever do an adjustment and you're not sure if you're happy with it, then or you don't want as much of the adjustment, then you can click on the layer and you can change the opacity of the layer. So say for example we thought the star reduction was too much, we could change the opacity of that to add more stars back into the picture, for example. Okay, I'm going to leave this at 100% because I'm happy with it, but it's just a quick little trick that's quite useful. Because curves is an adjustment layer on all the layers underneath, we need to make a copy of what we can see, so we need to do something called Stamp Visible. To do this on a Mac, you press Shift, Command, Option and E, or on Windows you type Control, Shift, Alt and the letter E. Another way you can do this is by selecting all the layers, right-clicking, duplicating the layers, and then selecting the copied layers and merge. So we're just going to put in here Stamp, and then we're just going to duplicate this layer, and we're going to go on to the next stage. Some telescopes like Newtonians produce diffraction spikes. This is due to the rods which hold up the mirrors inside the telescope. Having taken the images with the DSLR, you don't have any diffraction spikes. You could add them by, say, putting pieces of cotton over the lens, but the easiest way of doing it is doing it in post. So if you like the idea of having a diffraction spike, then how you do that, you go to Actions, and then down here you've got Star Diffraction Spikes. Now, you can overdo this, so I normally just go for Star Diffraction Spikes for fat stars, and then I click Play. And you can see now it's added a number of diffraction spikes on this layer. Now I can immediately see a problem, so I like this spike, I like that spike. That one's good too, but I don't really want that many spikes in the nebula. So what I can do is just hit the selection here and just delete these out. So just select the area that I don't want the spikes in. So I might leave that one there, that one looks nice. And I hit the delete key. And you can see the spikes are gone. So now I'm going to see if there's anywhere else that I want to remove spikes. I'll probably move that one in here as well. So I'm going to hit delete key again. There you go, and that one's gone. And then I'm going to go to select and deselect. And now we can save our image and export it. And we're done. It's a good idea when you're exporting your image always to export one of them as a TIFF or a PNG, just so you're not destroying your image with lossy compression. So I'm going to select PNG here. I'm going to save it. And here's the before and after. I'd love to see your astrophotography. Feel free to tag me as Chasing Spin on Twitter or on Facebook. If you'd like to see more of this content, please thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.